Hello, everyone. Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. It is Tuesday. Welcome back. We have a lot to talk about, especially because, well, it was kind of a long weekend, right? Labor Day weekend. And I'm catching up still on so many documents. And I just watched an interview. Well, Brian Entin is talking and he's reading some documents. And I don't think it was his intention to expose Dylan Mortensen as he was reading these documents, but I think that that is exactly what he's doing, whether he means to do that or not. That being said, guys, these are my opinions, my theories, and they are for entertainment purposes only. So remember that as we are going through this document, right? Now, I'm not sure where Brian Entin is pulling this document from that he is reading because I've skimmed, I believe, every piece of document. I'm not sure if this was something he requested by FOIA, but he's reading it, talking about how Dylan doesn't even remember, could not see the eyebrows. Not that she doesn't remember, that she couldn't even see the eyebrows. He goes on to say she denied remembering what his face looked like and said she could see that his head and mouth were covered, but she could not see his eyebrows, and further advised she could not see his eyebrows. Oh wow, she could not see her eyebrows or his eyebrows or its eyebrows because we've assumed it's a male, but we actually don't know. This person was allegedly completely covered. So, where is Brian Entin getting this information from? Obviously, it was probably a document that he had to put in a FOIA request for, but I'm not sure which document. But the fact that here we have yet another piece of legal writings stating that Dylan did not see the eyebrows makes this case that much more questionable. Why? Because we've been told that we have to treat Dylan and we have to treat Bethany Funk with kid gloves. Sir, ma'am, these two grown ass women are grown ass women. They are not kids, they are not little girls, they are adults. They may be young adults, but they are adults nonetheless. So I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. I'm open-minded and everything, but I'm done with giving these two grown-ass women the benefit of the doubt. Okay. And now here's Brian Entin saying, oh, turns out Dylan couldn't actually see his eyebrows. Interesting, interesting. Now, there's another statement that Brian Entin mentions that Dylan, when she talked to police, she was advised around 4 a.m. or 4:20 a.m. She heard Kaylee singing and playing music. What? Dylan was singing and playing music around 4 to 4:20? Interesting. Interesting. She heard who she believed was Kaylee walking up the stairs, and Blank advised she heard Kaylee say, someone's here. She sounded frantic, and they don't name Dylan here, but I've just pieced together that that's who it was, says Brian Entin. Blank described Kaylee's tone as somewhat between talking and yelling. So allegedly, this is Dylan saying, first, Kaylee was singing and playing music, and then she heard Kaylee say, someone's here. So how are we not supposed to question them? Do you see why so many of us have a hard time with this? Because Dylan is literally telling ISP that Kaylee sounded frantic Kaylee's tone was somewhere between talking and yelling. She also told ISP that she heard Kaylee going up the stairs. Oh, interesting. You heard all of that, but you didn't hear screams from them being brutally unalived? She advised Murphy was barking. She believed it was Kaylee who was walking up the stairs with Murphy, right? And then she goes on to say that everybody wore Doc Martens. Doc Martens? Why is she mentioning Doc Martens? Okay, if you guys do you guys know what Doc Martens is? Doc Martens, a brand of shoes. They're like really heavy boots are known for having thick soles, right? Why is she being that descriptive? That alone should stand out to any of us. Why the fuck is Dylan being this descriptive? Oh yeah, they were probably wearing Doc Martens. Really? That's your excuse as to why you heard them? You heard them supposedly walking up the stairs because of the type of shoe that they were wearing, but you didn't hear them scream bloody murder. Okay. Okay. And Dylan is very stupid. She's a fucking idiot in my opinion because this bitch can't lie to keep her she can't lie, okay? She can't keep her lies straight. She knows how to lie, obviously. She can't lie. She can't keep her lies in order. Dylan, girl or boy, however you identify, if you're going to lie like that, if you're going to contradict your story every fucking time that you're questioned, bitch, at least pull up your notes app on your phone or invest in a 20-cent notebook from Walmart. Like, write the bullshit that you're telling different police departments. That way, at least your shit matches. Cause, like, come on now. I mean, one thing is to lie and to at least try to keep your lies straight, but it's another one to like, at this point, like, bro, you're not even trying. Could you at least try a little harder? Like, this is embarrassing. I'm sorry, but it's like, how stupid do you think we are? You're like, oh yeah, they were wearing Doc Martens, and I heard them going up the stairs. But I've seen that grub truck footage, and when we look up closely at Kaylee's shoes, it looks like she's wearing some thin ass sneakers. Okay, that doesn't look like Doc Martens to me. Maybe Maddie had those boots, but it definitely was not Kaylee. Kaylee's were white, thin ass sneakers from what it looks like. So she's like, yeah, it was probably Kaylee running up the stairs. It was probably Kaylee. I'm like, are you delusional? Right? Like for people who are still giving her the benefit of the doubt. And they're like, maybe she is delusional. Maybe she's just making scenarios in her head. And then Brian Entin continues to read this document, and Bethany's like, oh my God, I think I heard fireworks. So both of you heard something. Both of you heard dog barking. Both of you heard, I'm not wearing lipstick. What, y'all? Um, they heard all of this. They were so afraid. So afraid. But you are like, "Oh, we were so drunk. We were so wasted." And then in the other interview, you're like, "Oh yeah, I actually didn't drink that much." So you weren't that wasted, right? Because we already know you were adding contacts. You were adding contacts to your phone. So don't give me that. Don't give me that. What is going on? Again, every time we hear about these documents, it's like more and more contradictions. Teresa says Dylan is very diabolical, and I've always believed she's involved. Same girl, same. Okay. For somebody who was frozen in shock, bro, you have four different stories. Okay. We hear Brian Entin saying she didn't see his eyebrows, and then two sentences into the document, wait, she did see his eyebrows. So which one was it, Dylan? Which one was it? Okay. And I was once a young lady too. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Cheryl. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I was once a young college student also. Okay. Even when I was young and inebriated, if I saw my roommate lying on the floor, I would go check to see that they're okay. Okay. So here we have, News Nation and Brian Enton trying to paint her as like this innocent whatever, but actually, you're just exposing her because, again, this is a different story than what we have heard. Again, another contradiction. So, and people are still saying, but Brian Koberger put trash in the neighbor's trash. But Brian Koberger bleached his car. Okay. There's documents, legal documents that state that Brian Koberger never did any of this, that he never used bleach on his car. The officer said this was an online rumor. An online rumor. Oh my goodness, 20 whole dollars? Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for the super chats. That's amazing. How do I let me see. Boop boop. Thank you guys. Two whole super chats. Wow. Y'all is spoiling me. And Cheryl too. Thank you guys. All these rumors. I constantly have people finding me on Instagram and they're like, but Nika, but Nika. How how am I supposed to believe that Brian Koberger was not involved? I really want to believe your theories, but Brian Koberger had these weird searches. How do you explain that, Nika? How do you explain that? Well, he was kind of getting a PhD in criminal psychology. That alone would explain, in my opinion, all his searches, right? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but has Dylan ever told the same story twice? And are they paying her for her storytelling? Is News Nation paying her? I don't know how people can be so naive, right? To believe the two roommates, especially Judge Hippler. Especially Judge Hippler, his red flags should be going up left, right, center. It's like, sir, do you not have any common sense? Because when you have somebody opening their fat mouth, aka Dylan and Bethany, right? Their big old mouths that they have, and their stories are not consistent, isn't that red flags for, hey, this is probably all a crock of shit? And in this video, guys, of Brian Enton reading this document, Even he's like, hmm, doesn't make sense. Even he's rubbing his head because he knows deep down that this does not make sense. Of course, he's not going to have the balls to question it. Of course not. He's bought and paid for, right? You can't question things like me. Like I'm independent here on YouTube. You can't question things when you're working for News Nation. Of course, he's not going to question it, but should he? Come on, Brian. Grow some balls and ask the hard questions because I'm really disappointed in you. Ask the hard questions that we are all asking. I'm just like, is there any real people left? Why be so nosy? Oh my God, thank you so much for the $20. Thank you. I appreciate it. How do I always have a hard time liking the hearting the thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's like, come on. I know that there's some real people besides me. I know that me, I'm independent. I'm a random woman who works a real job. This is like, I'm literally out here just to expose the truth and expose the injustice that is taking place within our justice system, right? But I know it's not just me. I know that there have to be some decent people still within these news networks that are still real. But maybe he will not question it. We know that he's been backing Dylan and Bethany since the very beginning. So most people aren't going to backtrack because they don't want to appear as being wrong. For me, I don't care. My ego is not there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But show me the evidence. In my opinion, guys, Dylan is an effing liar. Effing liar. And I said that from the early days. And I said, watch how her stories are not going to match. And it's normal for stories to not be exactly the same. Actually, if the story is exactly the same, that's a red flag too. For anyone who has studied criminal psychology, if the story is copy paste, that's a red flag because that means that the story is rehearsed. Stories should evolve every time you ask more questions because people often leave out small details. But Dylan's story is not evolving. It's completely fucking shifted 4 times at least. It's just changing. It's just devolving. It's just variations of what took place. Okay, so to me, that is a red flag. That is pointing to that Dylan is a liar and also Moscow Police Department. But we already knew that. At least in this channel, we already knew Moscow PD was corrupt. Remember 3 years ago when I first talked about Stickergate in Moscow PD with Officer Gunderson trying to hide evidence? We already knew that Judge Hippler was corrupt. I've talked about the case where he sided with corrupt officers. So that doesn't surprise me, unfortunately, right? And then we hear Brian Entin reading this document where Dylan is saying that Kaylee said there's somebody here and that she sounded frantic. Okay, this was Dylan who claimed she was confused and dreaming while she was texting her friends while they were running around frantically fighting for their lives. Yeah, with friends like that, who needs enemies? And this is the same person that's getting over 100K from the GoFundMe, right? Stop treating her like a victim. I mean, I will try to post Brian Entin's face while he's reading these documents, but even Entin, he's like hitting his head in disbelief on what he is reading in these documents. That's how disturbed he is. Even he is like, oh shit, probably internally, right? We have these ever changing witness statements, ever changing narratives, ever changing timelines. What is going on? And when we get all of these legal documents together and we put them next to each other and we see how much blabbing and yapping Dylan is doing, even before she gets asked any questions, red fucking flag. She's preemptively telling police why the house was scrubbed so clean, that she doubts DNA from the perpetrators will be found because of this deep cleaning. She's talking about the assailant or assailants leaving through the back door, scaling walls. Scaling walls? Bitch, what? What? We have all of this going on, people getting unalived in the background, people getting carved. Literally, Ethan was carved. Okay, this is real life. This is not a joke, Dylan. This is not this is not a joke. And then now we know that the dog was barking for crazy. Murphy barking for a whole fucking hour. And Dylan still chose to not call 911. Still went back to sleep. Like, does Dylan think that the killers knew that she was there and saw her and wanted to save her? Because then that just means that you know them, right? Isn't that what that means? That you knew the unalivers, that you knew the assailants? Story keeps changing, and yet she was not a suspect. I know, you know, that if this Dylan and Bethany were male, the story would be completely different. Those two would have been incarcerated from the get go. But why do we let it slide? Because they're women? Because they have tits? Because they're young? Because they're college girls? Okay, this is called bias in psychology. Okay. This happens all of the time where women get lesser sentences for committing the same crimes as men. It's disgusting. Where women are in the exact same situation as men, and cops will not look at them twice because they instinctively and wrongly believe that these two beautiful ladies couldn't commit such horrible atrocities. There's no way that these two girls, college blondes, sorority chicks, could ever be involved in something so disturbing. They're just girls. They're just girls. They could never. And in this document that Entin is reading, the phrase says, "It's okay, Kaylee. I'm here for you." Okay, that is different from what we have heard in the past. We've heard things like, "I'm here to help," but Brian Entin is saying, "I'm here for you." Okay, that is a completely different phrase. Okay, "It's okay, Kaylee. I'm here for you," says a completely different thing that "I'm here to help." Which one was it? We've heard the theories about Vampire Diaries. We know that Dylan was Allegedly, they were watching Vampire Diaries. Okay, whenever a witness says that they were watching a movie or TV, what is an officer supposed to do? Okay, they're supposed to ask, okay, if you were watching TV, what was the episode? What was the plot? And they do that to verify if it's true or not, or did they just make it up on the go, on the fly, on the spot, right? So, what was actually said to Kaylee? What did she actually hear? I'm here for you, or I'm here to help. Two very different things. Dylan also said that she thought Kaylee was downstairs in the spare bedroom, but then she also said Kaylee was in Xana's room with Ethan. So make that make sense. You don't know what's real or not, Dylan. You don't know what's real or not. You don't know if it's fake or if you were dreaming or if you were on substances, but you can watch Vampire Diaries, right? That you can do. But when you see Xana lying on the floor and not moving, you definitely can't check on her. You can watch Vampire Diaries, but you can't check on your friend. And you didn't hear her fighting for her life. And what did Bethany actually see? We know that she was supposed to have exculpatory evidence for Brian Koberger. What is the exculpatory evidence? Because now Bethany's saying she saw something like fireworks. She saw fireworks. What did she see? Okay. If you have never believed that the survivors were sketchy, I really suggest you go watch Brian Entin. Read this entire document because this is going to blow your mind. I'm not going to go over all the document because he's the one that has it. Um, but this makes it really seem insane. The only people that mention doing a deep clean around the time of the crime, the only person that mentioned a deep clean was who? Dylan, right? Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. AKW, thank you so much. Bro, my opinion, right? What I'm about to say is my opinion. But the only people that mention doing a deep clean around the time of a crime are people who actually did the crime. Because otherwise, why are you even fucking bringing up a deep clean, bro? Who does that? Who does that? Who describes a crime and says, well, it would be difficult to identify a suspect with DNA because of cleanup prior to the crime? Who does that? What type of sick individual does that? What type of sick individual consistently changes her story to deflect? Can you imagine? Ooh, just imagine how amazing it would have been if this would have actually went to trial. I mean, it would have been probably not good for Brian, right? Like, would have been sketchy. We know the court, the judge is bought and paid for. We know he's corrupt. We know in previous cases, Judge Hippler has sided with corrupt officers. We know that Judge Hippler was not going to allow DNA of other men that was found at the actual crime scene to be used in trial. Sketchy, suspicious, shady, sounds illegal. But can you just imagine for 1 second if this would have went to trial? Ooh, the cross-examination of Dylan and Bethany. They would have ripped them a new one in court. Because I know Alyssa and Ann Taylor would have been like, so you said you didn't see brows, but now you said you saw brows. But then you mentioned the floor being scrubbed clean. But then you mentioned that you did see the body, and then you did not see the body, and then you saw red fluid, and then you didn't see red fluid, and then you said Kaylee was upstairs, and then you said she was downstairs, and then they would have ripped them a new one. Dylan changes her story multiple times. There's some documents that mention that Dylan saw a GUN. Can I say that word here? I don't know. I'll have to look it up. So was there a GUN? I don't know. Mr. Gonsalves, sir, Mr. Steve Gonsalves, sir, with all due respect, you need to pay attention to this. If you really want justice, if you really cared for Kaylee and Maddie as a daughter, right? By now, if the G family, if Steve has been paying attention to these documents that are being dropped, because we know he didn't have access to this either. We know that he was just a pawn for Moscow PD. He was just being toyed with. They told him so many lies. They told him Kaylee was found sitting up, and now we find out she was laying down, and all kinds of things. They lied to him. Why? Because they knew Mr. Gonsalves would talk. They were using him to their advantage. But now he knows that he was just a pawn. So I pray that he's paying attention to these legal documents, because by now, sir, you should understand that, at least, in my opinion, Dylan was involved, at the very least aware of what was going on. And if she was aware of what was going on, then that means that she willingly decided to not call anybody for help when the crime was taking place. So have you guys ever watched Pretty Little Liars? That's what this reminds me of. Okay. Um, Basically, sociopathic women, right? A show of sociopathic women. I need to go. I need to go soon. Hello, Emma. Hello, Anastasia. Hello, Christine. Hi, Nadine. Thank you guys. I hope you guys had a wonderful 3-day weekend, by the way. Hello, Judy, Robert, Maria, Christine, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. Hello, Judy. Zicali says they are not victims, right? But we got hated on in the early days because we were like, I'm sorry, but you're not really a victim if you were there and you were awake. And they were like, no, they were asleep. And then the documents were released, right? The documents were released stating that they were adding contacts on their phones, they were FaceTiming people, they were calling people, they were on social media, like, you know. Nadine says that police guy still telling her to remember her story doesn't sit right with me. Me either. What kind of fucking cop says shit like that? A corrupt one, right? Mr. Hi-Fi says, why did Koberger make a deal? I mean, that's common sense, I thought, by now, right? Cheryl says they're literally grown-ups. Brandy, me either, Nadine. He literally told her, get with her friends and write everything down. These liars need to be investigated by the FBI or another police department, for sure the FBI. And I know that a lot of people have told me that they've reached out to the FBI to, look into this case, but I don't know how long, I don't know for how long that would take, if they would even look into it, but that's great. Brandy, exactly. And if you really watch it a couple times, you can tell the way she was saying everything. They'd been in that room all night rehearsing that story. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that was a weird ass interview with Jack Showalter, Nadine. He's like saying that lady or that woman, referring to Kaylee. I'm like, come on, man. Really? We're going to go there? We're going to pretend you don't know Kaylee? Come on. So, hello, John. No sunburn, no. Our Maria says she was so scared that she locked her door and went to sleep. Amanda says, and her constant crying and fake panic attacks. Honestly, dude, that crying. You just didn't see the eyebrows, and then I saw the eyebrows, and then I made eye contact 3 times, and then I just oh my god. And then I just went back to my room and fucked off on my phone. And then I saw Xana. Oh. And I didn't go to her. I kept fucking around on social media. Oh yeah, you never called 911, right? Right. Right. So, thank you guys. I hope that was a little bit convincing because I learned from Dylan. I've been watching her interviews and she's like, I should be an actress, bro. Right? Oh my God. Lionheart says I should be an actress. I should because I've gotten so good at this bullshitting thing. Thank you, Dylan. I'll thank Dylan Mortensen. She's my number one teacher. I've been watching her interviews and she's just so fucking good at it that I'm like, wow. She's literally up here giving free acting classes, guys. She's a lousy actor. I don't know, man. I think she's pretty good. She's no Jake Gyllenhaal, but I mean, she's good enough. She's good enough to bullshit a whole lot of people. Have them eat off her fat little fingers, her chubby little fingers, right? Because if she wasn't so good at bullshitting, she wouldn't have 100. What I've lost track. 100 grand, 200 grand. What is it at now? The GoFundMe. So yeah, right. Right? That's what she has. DM can take that 100K and get better acting lessons. Bruh. Bruh. Use it for face augmentation? Bro, she does not need face augmentation. Her face is big enough, okay? Like, not to be a biatch, but that's like you telling me, like, get fit. Bro, look at this. Look at this big ass, square ass face. Okay. Definitely does not need face augmentation. Come on. Drama class rejected her? Really? I don't know about that. I think, I mean, I've seen her up on that stand during the sentencing. She was so good. Some of us can see through the bullshit, right? Obviously, because we have really good pattern recognition. A lot of us on here are neurospicy. We can see through the bullshit, but a lot of people cannot. I'm sorry, I am very animated. It's the ADD on the autism, it's the tism, irism with the tism. You should have stood in for her, Nika. I know, right? I should have. Some people have said we look alike. I'm like, I'm offended. She wishes. The fuck? Lynette, hi Nika, exactly. Didn't she also say she heard dancing, not screaming? Then in the court said she was afraid she'd be next to head screaming. That was blubbering. Yes, 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 yes. People were asking me, oh my God, all day. People were asking me if I got a haircut. No. Is it because I have it parted down not the middle, and it looks shorter? Still long. Still so long. Thank you, D. Ugh, Bethany Funk. Bethany. Girl. Bethany was like, oh yeah, my tooth hurt, right? That's why I was calling my daddy. I was calling my daddy because my tooth hurt. Wow. That's your priority. 4 dead friends. Some were even carved, filleted like a fish. And the first thing on Bethany's statement is like, so I called my dad because my tooth hurt. And I was in pain meds, Since when the fuck does Tylenol knock you out? That's the first thing you're going to talk about. You're not going to talk about your dead friends. You're not going to say, I'm sorry for being a dumb bitch and not calling 911. You're not going to say, oh my God, we fucked up. We should have assumed. No apologies, no nothing, right? It's no apologies. Her first instinct was to cover her ass and blame it on a toothache. That alone says everything I need to know about these 2 grown-ass women. Stop treating them like babies. These are not children. They're grown. They're large and in charge. They're thick. They're strong. They're sturdy farm girls, okay? They can handle it. They can handle it. They are adults. Young adults, but adults. So that is enough for today. I'm sorry if I missed any of you guys in the chat. I always try my very best to catch up and talk to everybody. But yeah, self-preservation, says AKW. Exactly. Blood leaking out of the house, and she's worried about a toothache. Tisk. Spicy. I like that. Either way, guys, let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you think that these 2 are looking a little bit sus, especially Dylan in this new document that I just kind of went over that Brian Entin read. Please leave a 1 in the chat here, but also when I end the stream, please vote in the comment section. I never ask you guys for super chats, for monies, for cash apps. I do greatly appreciate them, but I will never ask for them for myself. I only ask that you guys hit the like, make sure that you are subscribed, and make sure that you're commenting in the chat if possible, because that does help promote this video, pushes it out into the stratosphere so more people can see it, right? So see you guys soon. Take care, and I hope you enjoy the video. Bye, guys. Also, if you like my acting skills, leave a cool emoji, yeah? Leave a cool emoji. Speaking of acting skills, go check out my new YouTube channel. It's kind of an experiment, and then I'll let you guys know later on what that experiment is. So see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.